The list began after her first attempt. A list of everything brilliant about the world, everything worth living for. Number 1, ice cream. Number 2, water fights. Number 3, people falling over. All things that at 7 years old, I thought were great. My mom didn't necessarily agree. I started the list on the 9th of November. Last year, I had a math teacher. We used to write sticky notes of everything that made us happy, and we had to stick at least one to the wall of her classroom every single day. When that wall was filled with those colorful sticky notes, she showed us a speech. This young man, a story of his battle through depression and anxiety after the death of his mother. I lost my mom whenever I was 12 years old. I'm on my own journey now. I can tell you. Things might not always get brilliant, but they do get better. Every Brilliant Thing by Duncan Macmillan and Johnny Donahoe. So it's the 9th of November, and all the other kids had gone home long ago. And eventually, Dad pulls up. Dad looked at me. When something bad happens, your body knows it before your brain can realize what's going on. It's a survival mechanism. Fight, flight, or stand as still as you possibly can. I stood very still. I looked at my dad. Eventually, I got into the car. Put your seatbelt on. Why? Because cars can be dangerous. Other drivers don't always pay attention. Why? I don't know everything. If we're able to know everything, then life would be unlivable. We have no need to use our imaginations, and I guess they're what make life bearable. Because in order to live in the present and to sustain the relationships, we have to be able to imagine a future that's better than the past. Put your seatbelt on, we're going to the hospital. Why? Because that's where your mother is. She's done something stupid. I don't know exactly why I had the idea for the list, but it was here where I started to write it down. Number 24. Spaghetti. 25. Wearing a cape. Now, by the time my mom did eventually come home, the list was 8 pages long and had 314 things on it. I left it on her pillow entitled Every Brilliant Thing. Now, I know she had read it because she corrected my spelling, but she never mentioned it to me. I'm making it sound like my mother was a monster or that my childhood was miserable, but it wasn't. We had a piano in the kitchen, and we used to gather around it and sing soul songs. Number 314, having a piano in the kitchen. I forgot about the list. So, 10 years later, Dad showed up halfway through chemistry. The same fight or flight reaction. And as a teenager, I dealt with it less well. The night she came home, she said if it wasn't for the ham and pineapple pizza lining her stomach, she'd be dead. So I told her it took 3 weeks worth of antidepressants, half a packet of aspirin and a tub of antihistamines. You're probably healthier than I am. You're going to kill yourself, then jump off of a bridge. And then she started to laugh. And I started shaking. Have you ever had that where your breaking? is deeper than you realize. I am upset. I must be really upset. That night, I began to clean out in my room, and a box under my bed on the list. Number 1, ice cream. The younger me had dealt with this so much better. Number 2, water fights. The younger me was hopeful. Naive, of course, but hopeful. I picked up a pen, and I continued where that little boy had left off. Number 316, the smell, old books. 317, making up after an argument. The next morning, I grabbed the list and I sat at the end of my mother's bed. I began to read it to her. She got up and left the room. So over the next few days, I spent a lot of time talking to her back. 201 hammocks. 761 deciding you're not too old to climb trees. I began leaving sticky notes around the house. 525 piglets. 823 skinny dipping. It was my aim to reach 1,000. No repetition. Things had to be genuinely wonderful and life-affirming. Not too many material items. 992, knowing to jangle the keys at the wildlife park if you want the otters to come out. 995, really good oranges. It's common for the children of suicides to blame themselves. It's natural. 999, sunlight. However much you know you're not to blame, you can't help feeling like you failed them. It's not fair to feel that way, but it's natural. The first week I left for university, I posted the list to my mother, and when I came back that Christmas, I found it neatly folded back on my desk in its envelope. I don't know whether or not she had read it, but it certainly didn't change her outlook on life. Christmas was quiet and difficult. Dad drove me back to university. I read up on suicide. It's contagious. Every time suicide is front page news or a character or celebrity on prime time television takes their own life, there's a spike in the number of suicides. We call that the Werther effect. 1006 surprises, 1427 not worrying about how much money you're spending, 2001 films that are better than the books they're adapted from. I wrote new lists and entries every single day. Pages and pages of it. 2,390 people who can't sing, but either don't care or don't know. 9,995 falling in love. 9,999 staying up all night long talking. Studies have shown that children with depressed mothers have a heightened reactivity to stress. It actually changes the chemistry of our brains. 253,263, the feeling of calm which follows the realization although you are in a regrettable situation, there's nothing you can do about it. The real risk I'd felt my whole life is that one day I would feel as low as my mother, because alongside the anger and incomprehension, the absolute crystal clear understanding of why someone no longer want to continue living. Yes, I had been feeling that way for a long time. I found it impossible to notice new and brilliant things. This was ended. Finished. I wasn't around for the last time. My dad wasn't either. 31. Birdsong. The list hadn't stopped her. 45. Hugging. The list hadn't saved her. Of course it hadn't. 1092. Conversation. I have some advice for anyone who's been contemplating suicide. It's really simple advice. Don't do it. Things get better